Hi there, good evening. Welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I am Francis Abban. Tonight, we have a very, very important conversation to bring to you. In fact, it's in two parts. One directly affects your pocket. I'm talking about the Ghana cedi and the games it's playing with that. The question to us is how we're taming the bolted dollar and strengthening the Ghana cedi. We'll have a conversation on that quickly. And then to our main fulcrum for our discussion. The states looked to build in 2019, that was the promise, sword was cut by the president, for the construction of the Pwalgu multi-purpose dam. The estimated cost was close to $1 billion. We're learning 5 years after the sword cutting that we are seeing almost $12 million expended, but there's nothing to show for it at the project site. The minority has taken time to go to the site where the project is supposed to have been erected and has brought a very comprehensive report to this matter. We'll hear them out. The Deputy National Communications Officer for the NDC, Malik Basintala, is joining us in the studio for that all-important conversation. And of course, if you have any questions to ask, of course, you can join us on our Facebook stream at GH1 TV and also on X. Share your thoughts with us with the hashtag State of Affairs. So welcome once again. This show is brought to you with a kind of association with MTN. MTN is everywhere you go. And MTN says to remind you that they've got a wonderful app that makes your life so much easier. It's called MTN Momo. You can download it from the Google Play Store or the App Store. Once you download it, you'll be able to make payments, receive payments, view your statements, pay your bills. Everything you use your Momo for, that MTN Momo app makes things a lot more easier for you today. So that's why I recommend for you that you download that app now. Is the unmistakable blue and yellow icon. You can't miss it when you go looking for it. MTN will be the keyword to look for. Once you find it, download it and get to use it and have a brighter experience when it comes to using your MTN Momo today. MTN is everywhere you go. So as I said, two-pronged conversation. The first part will be to quickly touch on your pocket and the matter of the city and how things are yo-yoing for our currency quickly. And then we'll zoom into the matter of the Pwalgu multi-purpose dam and what's become of it after the sword cutting in 2019. The NDC, the minority, has spent time to look into what's happening. We'll bring the details tonight here on the show. Let's now have the former Finance Minister, Tekpe, and Dr. George Domfe, the development economist and senior research fellow, the CSPS, join us this evening via Zoom. Gentlemen, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Good evening.
Right then.
Good evening to you, Francis, and good evening to you, Doc.
I know, it's been a while.
I know, yes.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Tekpe, I take full notice of your interesting hat tonight. Thanks for joining us this evening. All right, so
it's a baseball cap, sir.
It's a baseball cap, that's fine. So first question to you. As we speak today, there have been a number of decisions taken relative to our national currency, the cedi. You need not less than 15 Ghana cedis at the very least to get a dollar on the market. For you, as a former manager of the economy, and with someone who has key insights into the happenings of how the cedi behaves against the currency, talk to me. How are you analyzing the current state of our cedi and what's wrong with it?
Yeah, thank you very much. If I may try and simplify as much as possible, in looking at the value of the cedi, we have to look internally first, because we import and then luckily we also export. And so when we export, we earn, foreign currency. And when we import, we spend foreign currency, both for the public sector and the private, sector. So you are looking at what economists would say demand and supply. In our case, the supply would be what we have, to put in exchange for imports that come in. So, and quite a variety of, goods and services are denominated in dollars and used by government agencies through the Bank of Ghana, to make payments for those, imports, if I may put it as simply as that. It includes things like even the loans that we take, which we use to do cedi projects, and we generate other tax revenues, or the projects, then generate the revenue to repay. So you see the interplay of demand, for the dollar to import, and then a supply of dollars, which can also come from private sector. For example, we have amount of dollars that can be surrendered to the state by certain, players, in the economy. So the value of the cedi, it's like the normal demand and supply. If the supply of kinke is small and few, and a larger number of people are lining up for it, obviously the price goes up. And on the other hand, if as we go into the season, food supply increases, then you see prices also going down. And I am mentioning this because you can see the demand and supply situation that I'm talking about with respect to imports, exports, and the rest, and their prices. Their effect on the prices of goods and services also has an effect on inflation. So we know that the food basket, for example, which is a major component of, measuring inflation, when we get into the season, when we get into the rainy season, and when the rains are good, not when we face drought and supply is high, then you see we even have post-harvest losses. Now, therefore, if the cedi is losing, there are other reasons. For example, the strength of the dollar and the rest, but we may get to those points, later. But if, therefore, you see that what we are discussing has to do with the supply that we have, or the reserves, which is dollars which we haven't spent, which Bank of Ghana has custody of. And you may be familiar with saying that the reserve cover is when it falls below 3 months or 3.5 months, of imports, then the cedi begins to suffer because you are losing, cedis, in exchange for your import needs. And that is what has led to, the situation. So it means that when we say there's pressure on the cedi, it means that there isn't enough, enough dollars. Francis, we came to the point, if you remember, just going into the IMF program. So let me come to more contemporary, situation where we were told that our reserves were depleted. And we had about a month or so instead of 3.5 months, which is the threshold, of reserves dollars left. Unfortunately for us, it looks like our output for cocoa in particular, has also not done so well. So as there was pressure on the reserves, partly because government also, Bank of Ghana under pressure used some of those reserves, including the cedi reserves, to support the dollar and others. In short, our dollars got depleted and we had to go into an IMF program. Now the supply, apart from those other factors I mentioned, one of the advantages of going to a fund program is that when you go, you have some supply, of dollars from the IMF itself, from the World Bank, which provides the budget support. Most of these are provided in dollars, including development partners, and that boosts temporarily for you. That's the essence of austerity. It boosts your supply of dollars, it inches up, so you are able to cushion yourself better. That's the essence of austerity. So we can say that since we have depleted most of our dollars and we haven't been able to replenish it as fast as possible, the resources that are flowing when you go into a fund program as we are now help the situation. So if, as it is now, we are not able, to meet all the conditionalities as well as arrangements like debt exchange, for the fund to go to the board and therefore for us to get the next tranche, then given the fact that we are depleted, most of our reserves already, it means that the delay would put pressure, on the city because there isn't the expected supply, because that's why it's in tranches, and it's expected that tranches will come in at intervals to avoid, the depressed situation which one is seeing today and is describing. So we can say that part of the reason, apart from, cocoa crops and things going down and therefore less, is the immediate reason is perhaps the expected amount of money that could have come in dollars, which are conditioned on the IMF program, have not come in, and therefore it has had an effect, on the
our
city.
flows today. Okay. But the other thing to explore with you quickly before I go to Dr. Domfe is about the expected actions. The finance minister last Friday said they're expecting over $2 billion from the development partners this year. Does that bring a lot of stability if it's to arrive, say, tomorrow morning?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that for the short term and for the situation in which we are, just as, and you remember that the IMF program provided for the front loading of the amount that is due to us, such that out of the 3 billion, almost 2 billion would have been disbursed by the end of the year. So if there are delays, and this is based on your balance situation, which I described, inflows and outflows, and therefore how it will hold the fort. To that extent, yes. But that part of that is conditioned also, as I said, on part of that is conditioned, as I said, on the our own ability to generate, our own forex through exports mainly to preserve the value of the seed to complement the flows that are going to come in. So maybe the Minister for Finance, of course, is more knowledgeable, even if you have been a former one, to know that perhaps the progress, there's significant progress taking place, and I think I read something to that effect, on the negotiations, with the external creditors and with the bilaterals, such that, the fund may go to the board as soon as possible. To that extent, yes. But we need more sustainable measures, to generate our own resources to stabilize the situation. Because by the end of the year, we would have exhausted almost 2/3. And the next administration, whichever one it is, would have only 1/3, for the next 1.5 years, from that source. So it means with our medium-term measures, such as, boosting non-traditional exports, and salvaging, beginning to salvage, some of the vandalized cocoa farms, and others would have to be started,
All right.
As soon as possible, for that stability to come in the medium to long term.
All right. Let me bring in Dr. Domfe at this time. Dr. Domfe, as things stand now, we've heard the finance minister make the point clearly that the development partners and the funds that will come in should give us some respite and stability for the Ghana cedi. But is it not puzzling that our currency is only being backed now at the minute by what we'll get by way of monies that will come in dollars for the syndicated loan for cocoa, and also funds that come from our development partners? Is that not worrisome in terms of the basics of our economy and how we're holding our currency?
Yeah, my brother, let me say very good evening, and let me thank you for this opportunity, and let me also say very good evening to all our viewers. I mean, I'm holding my phone, so I'm thinking a bit. I can't. I just had a problem with my computer, and so I'm holding my phone. Just forgive me if I'm
okay, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with Honorable. Most of what he has said, he's very right. I like it very much when he talked about sustainable measures and artificial measures. I will make a point about that. But before I do, let me quickly say that, yes, it is true that around May last year, at the time we went for the IMF credit facility arrangement, our import cover hovered around 1 month. that was not good enough, because if you look at the West African convergence criteria, all countries in this sub-region are supposed to keep not less than 3 months import cover. But we did well since we went on the program. In fact, one of the conditionalities was that we should be able to boost our reserves. And so what it means is that Bank of Ghana, as Honorable Riley put it, has been supplying, but then they also have to be mindful of the fact that they have to keep a certain minimum threshold of the import cover, and they have been doing that. In fact, part of the reason why during their first visit, the first SLA last year, October, after we signed on to the program, they praised us so much was because we were doing very well with our raises. Having just 1 month import cover in May, by the end of December, we have moved to 2.7 months import cover. And as I speak with you, at the end of April this very year, the import cover has gone up to 3.0. And so we have made the West African convergence criteria, and that is about $6.5 billion US. And so gradually, when it comes to the reserves, I think we are now doing well. The problem is that, and I hope Honorable is aware, because we signed on to the program, as we speak, IMF has a desk with the DOG. Somebody is sitting there making sure that DOG does the right thing. And so DOG does not have the capacity to now supply more that we need because of that constraint. The constraint that you have to keep a certain minimum, reserves. And that one, I think we've done well. Recently, as he really put it, the last SLA that we had, one of the things that IMF was so happy with us was the progress we have made in boosting our, reserves. So for the reserves today, it's not as if it's not depleted. We have 3 months import cover, and that translates into $6.5 billion US. That's what we had at the end of April. But the problem is that you can't use it. If you use it, next SLA, next staff level agreement, you have a problem, satisfying the conditions.
Okay. I would want us to look now towards the proper, or should I say the long-term solution to this matter. There's been talk of us improving our exports, but how do we structurally get our cedi stable quickly in a minute, please?
So quickly. Okay, so quickly, and I do agree with the Honorable that all what we've been doing previously has been artificial. If you go to borrow, we sell our cocoa so cheaply, and I've always maintained that cocoa alone is something that should be taken care of Ghana, because globally, cocoa contributes about $115 billion US to, I'm talking about the global economy. And Ghana, our fair share should have been 29 billion because we contribute 23% of the beans. It's unfortunate that we get less than 2 billion from cocoa, and so that is artificial. That 2 billion that we go for the loan to, Cocoa Board secures that loan. They keep the money with the Bank of Ghana. Our reserves go up, but then you have to pay. So when it comes to the time you have to pay, then your reserves are going down to reduce the capacity of the bank to supply. Okay. And so in the long term, what we need to do is to boost our local production. Anything that would take dollar away, we need to prevent it. As we speak, we go all the way to China to buy toothpick, common toothpick to clean our teeth. When you go to Central Region, Ascend area, bamboo does very well. Why don't we set up a factory there so that we are able to produce this toothpick? Honorable is aware, we spend so much importing cars. Last year alone, we imported over 120,000 cars into this country. I'm talking about home use, as we would always refer to them. And we quite a lot. So now you have money to bring into this country 6 good car assembly plants. Right now, I'm working here. And so if we are able to, work very well and to an extent that we will get people to patronize what is locally made. People are going to tell you that new cars are very expensive. But that's how Singapore, South Korea, and all those countries, that's how they develop. you know, at a certain point, you need to protect the local production. Now that they have the capacity to produce 120,000, I don't see why we cannot use tariffs or whatever measure to cut down the import. If you do that,
vehicles.
you're cutting down the rate at which dollars will go. I know we talked about private and individual supplying, dollars. If these cars are empowered to produce more, buyers will come all the way from Mali, from Burkina Faso, from Cote d'Ivoire, from the neighboring countries, and they will bring dollars here to come and buy the car.
All right.
You know, and so the whole thing is that we need to boost the local production, and there are quite a number of things that we need to do. The agricultural sector, you know, we need to do more, my brother.
All right. Dr. Domfe, thank you for your time tonight. Mr. Tekwe, also, I am with you this evening. I'm asking same question. What are the structural things we need to do to ensure that our city does not go through this cyclical decline and this level of depreciation that we see?
It starts with the fiscal. The fiscal has a link. Even though we are talking about forex and the budget may seem to be denominated in cities, but if we overspend more than we generate, and you know that part of the problem we had was a high deficit which we were financing. That financing includes forex for certain expenditures. And so a lot of people have said that we should look at our expenditures, not just in terms of cities, but also to support, you know, the dollar, the dollar components, you know, of the spending to bring it, to trim it, and to make it, you know, can begin to boost. As we boost revenue, we have to look at expenditure. So that, you know, it's one. And then in the short term, we may have to make proper use of, you know, the IMF resources that are coming in. If they are coming in and we are converting them, you know, to support deficits which are unsustainable, it means that the only what we are doing is spending those valuable dollars, you know, on the dollar components again, you know, of the budget. And the more longer term, medium to longer term, Francis, this government is 3 oil fields compared to what? $70,000, 70,000 barrels as at 2016 average, you know, compared to nearly 200,000 barrels. We know that crude oil prices have gone up. So there is, you know, the other side, you know, of the increase in oil prices, which is affecting. It is because we have destroyed the buffers. Francis, you know that the stabilization fund, the sinking fund, and the contingency fund, which was to also help us, you know, cushion ourselves, not just for the budget, because if you have a crisis such as we had, you know, with the flooding recently, you know, in the southern Volta area and the rest, you would definitely need some forex, you know, for its management.
Yes.
It means that the contingency fund, which is kept, you know, in dollars, you know, would have come to the rescue. The stabilization fund, as it is, we are vulnerable because we have depleted those. So to the extent that, you know, we are able to trim our expenditures and, you know, go back to these measures which are supposed to help us. Francis, the first is that crises are inevitable. Crises will come, whether domestic or external, and we just have to prepare for them for the longer term.
As they
Even
come.
the advanced rich countries do just that. And then my last example would be the initiative to set up an Exim Bank. And the Exim Bank, unfortunately, was looking backwards when it should have looked outward. It was looking inward when it should have looked outward, where we know that it is impaired to some extent, its loans and the rest. But the idea behind it is that, like Cocoa Board, even though it's run both by government and the private sector, you have Chamber of Commerce, AGI, and others on that board. You know, its behavior is just like Cocoa Board, in that, you know, the farmer, the one adding value, whether in industry, agro-processing, other forms of exports who need assistance, when they are giving the loan and the export, like, you know, Cocoa Board, they will be helped to bring in inputs. Meanwhile, they are generating their own resources, but we are only strengthening them through that vehicle of an Exim Bank, you know, to be able, you know, to bring in inputs and the rest to make our non-traditional exports, you know, sustainable. And so I would hope that going forward and hopefully, we would be able to put the Exim Bank, in place, to, if we talk about, agro-processing, agribusiness, we talk about the industrial area, even if we talk about exports, they would need foreign, inputs.
To
and
make
to
it
the
happen.
extent
Okay.
that, we have, an agency that can harness, the resources of the same owners, but be able to borrow, let's say, like Go Board used to do at, 1 billion, 2 billion, right, or even more. It means that instead of an individual looking at how am I going to get an LC to bring in, equipment of 10 million, 2 billion means you are bringing 200, exporters of similar need, and helping them, with inputs.
To bring it
These
in,
are
okay.
not controlled by a government agency, but yes, Exim is a government agency, but on this board, that's why tactically you had AGI, you had Chamber of Commerce, you had others, so
To
that
all
they
play
can
that
help.
role.
That's
Before I
another
let you go,
sustainable
Mr.
way.
Dekwe,
Yeah.
before I let you go, and this is a very direct question. Yes, there are plans afoot to stabilize the city. What do you tell those who are, in view of the level of depreciation, buying or storing their value of their investments and money in the dollar today? Should they continue or they should stop?
Well, clearly, this is not the first time that we have had such a situation, that is, behavior. So we look to the past. And if a correction is done, right, if a correction is done, it means that, they may have bought, the dollars at a very high rate, and then they would have to, surrender it, and they wouldn't at a lower rate, and they may not be able, to make the bargain that they were anticipating. So this has happened, in the past, but to the extent that there's no solution to it, that is a behavior that adds to pressure, on the dollar, because people are speculating on the dollar that will increase, and therefore, if I buy today, tomorrow I'll be able to sell at a higher price, and make a profit. So the dollar has become a commodity, visible. It may not be visible, only visible when you go and collect your cedis or you surrender your dollars. But that is what it means. So again, Francis, we are back to more sustainable, ways, of maintaining the dollar. Okay. And I think that that is why I am preferring, solutions. Another one is to tackle the issue, which is plaguing the cocoa industry. We started tackling the bills, the domestic bills that became loans that were offloaded, to the program, such measures. And then also, if you travel, as I did quite recently, through from the Western region through BA, the two BA regions, all the way to Ashanti and the rest, you could see the condition of our cocoa farms. So a certain reclamation program, which is, in our proposed agenda, hopefully, would also help the reclamation and for, bringing back the cocoa
farms, which will help us in
yes.
increasing
And then
our
finally,
forests. Okay.
we would have to be able to, as prices go up, we should have the stabilization fund. We should do something similar with gold, because if the dollar, I heard the minister saying that one of the reasons is that the dollar has strengthened. It means there's the opposite. When the dollar was weak, gold was strong. Did we put some in reserve? So no matter how much our difficulty, no matter how much, whether it is debt repayments, whether it is buffers for the budget, whether it is contingency for eventualities, we should learn from households. These are measures that the country needs. And we should, these are the more medium to long term. And these are measures which yield the results. We could have another session, and I can show you the graphs to show that, the debt repayment, for example, yielded tangible results.
All right. Mr. Dekwe, thank you very much for your time this evening and for joining us here on State of Affairs. Former Finance Minister joining us there. As I said,
You're most welcome.
Yes, part 2 of our show tonight is on the matter of the Pwalgu multi-purpose dam. Sword was cut in 2019 by the president, ostensibly to provide a number of things, irrigation, power, and many other amenities that will come with this dam in helping to address critical needs in the country. 5 years on, where are we with the project? The minority have taken time to go look into it. The NDC have also followed through to see what's happening. We'll find out their accounts, what they found, and what actions they want taken in relation to the investments made and what becomes of this project. We're back after the break to digest. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I'm Francis Abban. Tonight, as I said, first part was on the matter of how we're taming the dollars run against the cedi. The second part is us looking at the multi-purpose dam, the Pwalgu Dam that was sword was cut for in 2019 by the president. 5 years on, looks like no work has been done as yet, but we've expended money towards it. We will explore that tonight in our conversation. This show is brought to you with the kind of association with MTN. MTN Momo is that app that you need today to make your life a lot more easy. Download it now from the Google Play Store, the App Store, and then it's the unmistakable blue and yellow icon. Download it now, be able to pay your bills, send money, receive money, do everything that you typically do with your MTN Momo to make your life a lot more easy. MTN is everywhere you go. My guest tonight is Malik Basantali, the Deputy National Communications Officer for the National Democratic Congress, the NDC. Malik, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Francis, and thanks for having me.
So you made the trip from Accra to Pwalgu to go assess the state of the Pwalgu multi-purpose dam. And by way of context for our listeners, for our viewers tonight, it's a project that is supposed to provide a dam with an elevation of 165 meters near the Pwalgu Bridge on the White Volta River with the maximum reservoir area of about 350 kilometers squared. A powerhouse consisting of 2 turbines with 60 megawatts of installed capacity and 60.5 megawatts of firm continuous capacity. The third part is that it would also be an irrigation scheme consisting of a 12 meters high weir and canal network, main, primary, secondary, and tertiary canals for about 25,000 hectares of land. It's supposed to be located on the White Volta River in Ghana, as I've already indicated to you, and that will share the boundary between the Upper East region and the Northeast region. You've been to where this dam is supposed to be sited. It's been 5 years since sword was cut. What did you find?
First of all, Francis, good evening to your viewers. If there was any project that the MPP and Bawumia will attempt using as a conduit for corrupt practices, the Pwalgu irrigation dam should have been the last to be thought of. I say this because this project is a project that is dear to the people of the North. It's a project that is dear to God Almighty, and it's a project that is dear to even you persons from the southern part of this country, because you will feel sad to wake up tomorrow and hear that I, Malik Basantali, was consumed by the spillage of the Bagre Dam. Here are reports, and I'll tell you why it's dear to God. This is a report. 10 dead, several rendered homeless after Bagre Dam spillage. Have you seen it?
This was in 2020 of September.
Yes, this is 2021.
Okay, this was a report by ONEP. Okay.
2 confirmed dead from Bagre Dam
spillage.
spillage. This is city. 2 more die after Bagre Dam spillage. This is city again. 4 die in Northeast. I mean, I can go on and on. These are lives lost, precious people dying, your friends, my brothers and sisters. Last year, 5 died in Bipe. My cousin was part of persons who lost her life as a result of the spillage of the Bagre Dam. In fact, as we speak today, by September, you would start seeing stories of this sort, because they usually spill the dam around July, August.
That's just towards the end.
Towards the end. And so these stories you see here, by September, your media portal will start reporting similar stories of persons losing their lives. This has been with the people of the northern part of this country from the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, up until 2024. What happened at Mepe that saw the entire nation sympathizing happens to the people of the North every year. And I can confidently say that, look, this situation in Mepe maybe have been surprising to people of the southern part of this country. But to persons in the North, we simply sat down and said, oh, when is ours coming again? Because we consistently incur issues of this sort. Then came Bawumia and Mr. Akufo-Addo. After President Mahama had invested huge sums of monies from 2013 in ensuring that feasibility studies and feasibility works were done on the grounds there by the VRA. They came on board and said they were cutting short for the project. You should have seen all the things they were saying around the country. Oh, this is a legacy project. In fact, as late as 2022, when Dr. Bawumia was interviewed on Asempa, he confidently said the Pwalgu Irrigation Dam was their legacy and signature project, and that they had invested in constructing it. He literally confirmed on the platform that the project was done, and all because persons in the South probably do not know what actually was ongoing there. Some people thought they could believe him. But I know Bawumia. He is my brother. And if I should tell you who Alhaji Bawumia is, maybe tomorrow morning you ask him to resign as vice president. But I'm coming there. Then we go to the land. My brother, only to realize that even chippings and blocks that were brought on the land by the contractor had been sold out to the assemblyman of the area. And so one trip of chippings and about 186 blocks that were brought on the day of the sword cutting, just to demonstrate that something, these are the blocks I'm talking about. These blocks, they are some on the side there. You see the one trip of sand is there. They had sold them out. And the contractor left site as early as 2021 because he claimed there was no money for him to start work. Look, what saddened my heart, and I'll tell you why I know Alhaji Bawumia than you. On the 3rd of November 2022, this is a report where Dr. Bawumia met the Northern Development Authority. And this is it. If I'm lying, everybody will see it. Your camera can look at it. Dr. Bawumia said the Pwalgu Dam was facing financial challenges. And that was why they couldn't continue with the project. Francis, I told a lot of people that Alhaji Bawumia will never change. I told people that he has lied from day one and he will continue to lie. This is the Auditor General's report. Page 23 of the Auditor General's report.
Which year's report? 2022.
2022. The Auditor General, as of 2022, and this report ends 31st December 2022. Then you have the report on the Auditor General on the consolidated statements. That is the report. Let me give it to you. On the consolidated statements, report of the Auditor General on the consolidated statements of foreign exchange receipts, which means that payments that were made to foreign contractors, because of course, this contract was under the China International Company. So these were payments that were made. On page 23, it tells us that the whole contract had been paid for. And the final payment that was made in 2022, the same year Dr. Bawumia said they had financial challenges, was $12 million.
So page 23, no?
Page 23, paid to the company. The same contract. This is it. Dr. Bawumia lied to you and I that the project was facing financial challenges. He told the chiefs and kinsmen of the northern region that government had not made a single peso available to this project. It was only a scam. It was a lie. And it was false. Not knowing, as of 2022, government had paid all, to the extent that the Auditor General's report had revealed that about 12 million was paid. Page 23. I have it here. That is the auditor. That was what the Public Accounts Committee.
Because I'm looking at the report here.
This is it. Report on the Auditor General on consolidated statements.
Yes.
On foreign exchange and reports.
Same thing I have here.
Yes. 2022.
Yes.
Fantastic. So go to page 23.
Okay.
If you're on page 23, let me show you that.
1 second. You
Page
go ahead.
2023 had revealed that monies had been paid to a tune of 12 million. In fact, the actual amount was 11,949,088 6 cents.
That was the amount paid.
That was the amount paid to the contractor. The final payment, which meant that the entire $1 billion had been paid in tranches, and this was the final payment that was made to the contractor.
But if that amount of money has been paid,
right,
would it not stand to reason, Malik, that we will see the dam constructed?
Absolutely. By now, we should have been commissioning the dam.
Is it not possible that what has been paid is 11.9 and not that 1 billion?
When we got to the palace,
yes,
the chief of Kurugu said he woke up one morning and saw Dr. Bawumia speaking on a sister station, claiming the dam had been constructed at Pwalgu and at Kurugu. He said he came out of his house and he asked his children whether he was still standing on the soils of Kurugu. Maybe they had constructed a dam in another place of Ghana that was meant to be Kurugu. Or maybe they had constructed it in another town called Pwalgu. But so long as he remained the chief and king of Pwalgu and Kurugu, no dam had been constructed on his lands. In other words, they even claimed they were going to relocate that entire community and 20 other communities away. Not a single community had been relocated so long as this particular report was concerned. And you see, it saddens my heart, Francis. I say this because lives have been lost. No matter how stone-hearted Dr. Bawumia and Nanado will be to the people of the northern region, it should not be a project that was meant to save lives and property. A project that was meant to create jobs in this country.
Okay, so
have you seen that?
I'm on page 23.
That's right.
MS China International
Fantastic.
Group Limited.
Fantastic.
Final payment for the construction of the Pwalgu irrigation project.
Fantastic.
Now remember that it's a multi-purpose dam.
Absolutely.
There's the irrigation part.
Absolutely.
There's the part that also handles, let me be very specific on that.
Absolutely.
There's a part that handles the dam with an elevation,
Absolutely.
the powerhouse for the twin turbines,
Absolutely.
and then the irrigation scheme.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know what the breakdown is for the entire 1 billion.
That's right.
But if the contractor is getting 11.9 million paid to him, it stands to reason that it's for the irrigation component. No?
It also stands to reason that some payments have been made already.
Do we have evidence of that?
I mean, the statement says it. It says final.
For the construction of Pwalgu
so
irrigation
look at the
project.
payment beneath that particular one.
Yes.
They could have used final, but they said payment for Temamoto Way and extensions
Project, yes.
But this, they said final.
Yes.
And let me prove this to you. The consultant called Professor David Tendan
Yes.
said he was paid in 2020.
How much was he paid?
He didn't state it.
Okay.
But he claimed this money was not part of this 12 million. And that many more payments
Had been made to
before
him
this 12 million.
or to other companies.
So to him and other people.
Okay.
So it simply meant that this final payment was just a tranche of whatever had been paid initially to other people. So more than $12 million had been paid. And that has been established in the Auditor General's report.
Okay.
That has been established by persons who received some of such payments on media platforms. And so that point has been established.
Okay.
What baffles me is that after this whole corrupt practice, as it stands now, the people of Pwalgu do not know when anybody is coming to dredge even a swimming pool in Pwalgu.
So are you saying
The
the
people of
irrigation
Kurugu-
project does not exist?
There is
It's nowhere.
In fact, there is nothing called an irrigation project. There is nothing called a hydro dam. There is nothing called an irrigation dam. The only irrigation dam we have up north was built by President Mahama, and that is the Tamri Irrigation Dam in Garut-Mpani. That was built by President Mahama and commissioned in 2016, and farmers today benefit from that project. There is no project in Pwalgu, there is no project in Kurugu, and there is no project anywhere that these projects were supposed to take place. Yet, monies meant for this project have been paid out, have been shared by cronies, and what saddens our heart is that our own brother, our own father, our own uncle, Alhaji Bawumia, is the one who led persons to dupe the people of the North in this particular manner. Look, there's a saying in Akan that one year bibia mawa sewa yambono krono. Dr. Bawumia, from 2016, has done nil for the people of the Northern region. We persons of the North thought that by virtue of the fact that he was from our part of the country and he had seen what his brother President Mahama was doing in this country and doing up north, he would emulate same and at least give us a peanut of what his predecessor did, only for Dr. Bawumia to become vice president. And all corrupt deals that they seek to use projects as conduits, they rather bring them to the north because it's far from the capital and they dupe us of huge sums of money.
Malik, I'll let you
concerned.
hold on
Absolutely.
that point for a minute.
That's
I'll
right.
go for a short break now. When I return, we'll look to, what you saw on site.
That's right.
And what the next steps will be going
That's right.
for. We're back after the break. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. I'm France Abban. Tonight we're discussing the state of the Pwalgu Dam has been assessed and viewed by the minority and the NDC on their trip to Pwalgu. So, Malik, yes, you've made the point about going to the site, not seeing any visible work of a dam that has been constructed. What is the NDC and the minority going to do now in ensuring that monies paid are accounted for and the dam is provided?
You see, our pursuit in this particular matter will not be like other matters we have already spoken about. Our pursuit in this matter is going to be a fight for the will of God and a fight for the will of the people. We are going to ensure that the last pursuer in this particular matter is retrieved. I say this passionately because lives have been lost, and many lives may be lost in the coming days. People go through hell. People's properties get messed. In Baumia's hometown, his region, the Northeast region, just last 2 years, a whole community on the Nalergu Road were displaced. In fact, they had to bring their mattresses and everything to the main road, and they slept there for weeks before the water levels reduced. People in the Yapekosogo have left their homes, especially in Bipe, because of the water that flows through. People along the northern regions. And this project was going to ensure that persons in 7 regions benefit, if not for anything, but at least whenever the spillage is done, it will be diverted into the dam so that lives, properties, and what have you will not be lost. But if Alhaji Baumia thinks that after all the northern region has done for you, this is the best way you pay us, by ensuring that monies meant for a project in your own hometown will be stolen, shared, unaccounted for in this manner, then I dare say that he will be punished dearly for this. The North never forgets, and we will never forget how he led the insensitivity. What pains my heart is that he was there with Mr. Akufo-Addo to cut sword for this project. He was there again to lie to us that monies were not flowing in this project, only for us to finally know that monies had been paid and they had shared our monies like granules. When I got to Kurugu, I wept when I looked at the community. I said, am I standing in a community that was supposed to benefit from a $1 billion project? I looked around and I saw young kids, and all I said to myself was that September is coming as usual. And I'm wondering where these children are going to get places to sleep. I'm wondering where these beautiful women and young men I'm seeing here are going to get places to sleep. Because anytime the spillage is done, it washes the entire community away. And people will have to relocate to the main roads, sleep in the bushes, excuse my language, like animals. And Dr. Baumia, you see this, you hear this is in your backyard, and yet as a result of a very stone-hearted person like you, as a result of a very cruel, and as a result of wickedness, you look in the faces of your own people you grew up with, and then you decide to lead a team to dupe the North in this particular manner. We will not let this go down the drains. I have stated, and President Mahama has assured that no matter how long it takes, the last man to get his share of the money will be the last man to present his share of the money back into state coffers. Because the Pwalgu Dam must see the reality of the day. President Mahama has assured once again that that particular project will see the light of the day, and he won't use any new funds
to get it done.
He will use the stolen funds, he will retrieve them, and he would ensure that those monies are used to construct the Pwalgu irrigation dam for the people of the Northeast and the entire people of the northern region.
Malik, thank you for your time and for joining us tonight. Malik Basantale is the Deputy National Communications Officer for the NDC. That'll be it for State of Affairs tonight. Thanks to the team for making this possible. Ibrahim Alassan, to my director Sapong and the team, Andy, and everyone. Thank you. And thanks to you at home for watching. Good night.